Acknowledge me!
You just made the list!
I am the B-E-S-T.
Get started, kid.
It's hard to start when you can't hear the music.
You know it.
Welcome down under the mat. Here in Madison Square Garage around the pool table of relevancy. Again, to my left, Mr. Daniel Danielson. To my right, the sexual chocolate himself, Reese's Pieces. I am Booker Teddy, and this is our first ever draft. So today, gentlemen, we are drafting your top 4 wrestlers of all time.
The Mount Rushmore of wrestling.
You could say Mount Rushmore, yes. Your Mount Rushmore of wrestling. And I've just realised we haven't even decided who's going first yet.
Well, I think we decided that because we had a draft,
Didn't we?
we've already experienced in this, so Reese needs to go
draft.
first. We'll give Reese pick number 1. Between you and me, though, who goes pick 2?
Well, I went first, so I guess I get to go
Yeah,
last
I'll
this
just
time.
go.
You want to do it?
Yeah, let's do it. Damn it. Alright.
The Rock wins, baby.
Is this foreshadowing?
It looks like Daniel picked rock bottom.
So for those of you that aren't aware of how drafts and stuff work, what we're going to do is we're going to each pick our favourite wrestler, give us a little bit of spiel as to why we picked that person, and then we'll go around the table and then we'll go through a few rounds worth of it, and then we'll see what our list is at the end. Throughout the rest of our videos, I think we'll change the drafts up. We'll do things like best themes, best heels, best matches, best belt designs, and whatever else you guys want to throw at us. So we'll do some good drafts down the track.
We might even do some bad drafts.
We possibly can too.
You 100% will.
Let's just start it off early with our favourite wrestlers of all time.
Yeah.
Reese, pick number 1. Absolutely no pressure.
No pressure.
Yeah.
Well, it's got to be said, it is The Undertaker.
We all saw this coming.
I'm going to stick with that one. He's not my favourite wrestler, but he is a staple that has been there throughout my entire period of watching wrestling since I first got in when I was a wee little tacker, 8 years old, whatever I was, up until now. The way that he's been able to change and develop his character through the years, but still retain that dead man persona. Love it. Of course, the WrestleMania streak, which controversially came to an end at WrestleMania 30. I feel like Brock was the most believable person to do that, but
In the end, I don't think it tarnished his career as a whole, to be honest with you. Like, the more I look back on it, yes, okay, you know, some people get a bit upset about it. I think Brock was legitimately the only person that you would have believed would have broken it.
Yeah.
And you look back on it, no, you know, it definitely does not diminish that.
No.
30 plus years of wrestling, man. Like, what a career.
you look at those 30 years as well, with the character and the storylines that he had. He never needed a title,
Correct.
but when he had it, it gave it so much more meaning
Yes.
as well.
Yeah, fully agree. I mean, you do also have him tatted on your arm,
Yeah.
so it's kind of a giveaway.
The dead spot in his arm.
Gotta recognise the GOAT.
Teddy, pick 2.
Fantastic. I mean, you know what I'm going to say, man. I'm going to drink a beer.
Yeah.
I'm going to drink another beer.
What?
Yep.
And then I'm going to drink a third beer.
What?
Fourth beer.
What?
Fifth beer.
What?
Stone Cold Steve Austin. Give me a hell yeah.
Hell
yeah.
I mean, come on, man. It's someone that, as I said before in our other podcast, he was the first ever wrestler I saw. Amazing character that a lot of people connected to back in the 90s. Who doesn't want to stun at their boss and drink a beer and another beer and another beer? Drive to the ring in a beer truck. He's done it all, man. And
The
he just...
Zamboni.
Oh, the Zamboni. I forgot the Zamboni. No, he, you know, you look at his matches, it's very hard to find a bad match that Stone Cold was in. I think most people are more familiar with actually the last part of his career and forget the fact of all the years that came before, the hard yak.
C. Williams.
Yep, and, you know, the Ringmaster, the Hollywood Blondes back at WCW. I think it's mainly defined by, because I mean, you know, I know a lot of people say we have to thank Hogan. We have to thank Hogan for where wrestling is now. I don't really buy into that. I think we have to thank Stone Cold Steve Austin and the other wrestlers in the Attitude Era, because the Attitude Era is where it popped.
Yep.
That is where it is that was the most popular. I think now we're getting to a point where it's more popular than that, but if we didn't have the Attitude Era and some of the horrible things that happened during it, I don't think, and mostly good stuff, I don't think we'd be where we are now. So for me, easy choice, Stone Cold.
I have pick 3 and pick 4 because I'm on the turn here at the draft.
He gets 2 in a row.
2 in a row.
Don't know if I told you that, Reese.
No, it's all right.
It's how drafts
No,
work, boys.
yeah.
It's how drafts work.
When you're last on the list, bottom of the table, mate.
I think I'm going to change up my strategy from the last time we drafted it.
It's a swerve coming.
A little bit of a swerve. I'm going to pick 2 wrestlers. They are generally combined. One mostly for their in-ring work and how brilliant they were as a wrestler throughout their entire career across the 90s, 2000s and 10s. One of the greatest in-ring worker that it ever was. The man who created the super kick and has now everybody has just stolen it. Shawn Michaels, HBK.
Yep. All right.
Possibly not the most liked wrestler outside of the ring. Very controversial, especially in the 90s. But you cannot question his talent within the ring, what he did, how he's now gone through in terms of coaching people, running NXT, lots of stuff. His matches at 25 and 26 against The Undertaker are 2 of the greatest wrestling matches you will ever.
100%. I don't think anyone would disagree with you there.
AEW Macho fans will. But
We'll leave the Macho fans out of the process. So HBK is going to be pick 3. And I'm picking for pick 4 his DX stablemate Triple H.
that's what I put on my list. And
you know why he's done that? Because in the draft, that was my pick.
Yes. So
you cheeky bugger.
for the main reasons that you've previously stated to me offline this podcast is that he is a fantastic heel.
Yeah.
He carried. Oh, we lost the flag. He's carried.
Everything's falling down on the set. This is an A-class production.
Yeah.
We got belts falling down.
Maybe
the flag's down. I think this is actually against the law to have the flag not flying properly. So let's just
Fix that while I talk about how good Triple H is. Obviously, the pedigree is a brilliant move. His heel moveset and stuff that he's had. His runs through the late 90s, early 2000s with, Orton and Cena and Jericho and all the stuff with Stephanie. And he is a fantastic heel. He's a brilliant wrestler. And then you look at the other side of the table of stuff that him and HBK did in terms of DX. The invasion angle and stuff, all that different things. Like, they were such great character wrestlers. And outside of the ring, what Papa H has now done in terms of creative, in terms of what WWE is.
He's a big part of it.
Yep.
A lot of that is on his back. So I think in terms of greatest of all time, I'm pretty comfortable taking Shawn Michaels and Triple H.
Can't argue with that.
Back that up.
All right, so it's back to me now, isn't it?
Back
And then back to Reese's Pieces. My second choice, I'm not going to divert from our offline one that we did. Contrary to what most people say, he does not suck. Broken freaking neck, Kurt Angle.
You suck, Kurt.
Sucked so much they put it on a mug. For me, again, this is another wrestler where people can argue such a short stint of career, actually, that he had, especially in WWE. He then continued on to TNA to do awesome things there with Samoa Joe and AJ Styles. But you cannot go past his debut year in WWE. Absolutely dominant. He just took to pro wrestling like a fish to water. Absolutely insane. And, they talk about how hard it is for people who come from legitimate wrestling backgrounds to get into wrestling because you can learn how to not hurt people. But the fact that he could just put on a show. He knew how to work the crowd. And I think it's really hard to have someone able to be as goofy as he was because he was such a legitimate fighter in the ring. He could be as goofy as he was outside and it did not diminish his toughness in the ring at all. You believed when he beat you.
I still remember the video of him wearing the wig backstage trying to take a laugh. Best.
For me, man, the best moment was when he was with Vince McMahon and Stone Cold during the invasion angle.
With the little cowboy.
The little cowboy hat, man. That's every time. And I think I mentioned this.
Singing Jimmy Crack Court.
And I think I mentioned this to you before, Dan. The one thing I quote at least once a month is, "I'm just a sexy Kurt.
Sexy Kurt!
I'll make your ankle hurt."
Ankle hurt!
Just classic comedy, like, you can't go past Kurt Angle. And he's up there.
As we have said before, Kurt Angle walked so Chad Gable can run.
Yes, true.
All right, Reese.
My pick next?
Two
All right.
picks.
Oh, 2 picks. All right.
You're
So
on the
first, I'm going to go off the back of Kurt Angle there. Another wrestler that has done it all, somewhat short span of career before he left and then came back. I only go with our boy Brock Lesnar.
Good pick. Very pick.
Good pick. So we talked about when, like, people taking to wrestling. Brock took to wrestling really well. Not
He was
so
a
much,
wrestler.
not so much the pro wrestling side of things, adopting that. Not so much the promo side, because we all know that Brock can't cut a promo.
He's a Heyman guy. He's a Heyman guy
Depending
for a
on what
reason.
type of character he plays, like let's be real, Farmer Brock, the promos that he has done as Farmer Brock are the best of his career.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it. But you look at the feuds that he had in his early stages of his career and how he held himself. He wrestled The Rock. He wrestled Undertaker consistently.
Yeah.
He wrestled The Big Show. He wrestled Kurt Angle. They had an absolutely stellar match at WrestleMania 19.
Until he killed himself.
Yeah.
I reckon if Angle was closer, he would have hit that properly.
You
And
might
probably
be
hurt him
Kurt?
even more.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nah, fantastic choice, mate. Like Brock,
Yeah.
I mean, we've talked about this before, right? Not only because a lot of people think, oh, he always wins and always squashes people, and yes, he's been involved in squash matches, but man, can he sell? Like you think about the Royal Rumble 2020 when Drew McIntyre claymored him out of the ring, and it took him 5 minutes to get up from that claymore, and it looked legit. He put Drew over big time, and he's done the same thing with Cody. He did the same thing with Roman. Did the same thing with Goldberg.
Yep.
He's more than happy to put others over.
And in terms of athleticism, like when he first came to WWE, was just jumping up on the ring and stuff, was amazing. And like you mentioned, in terms of and what Michael Cole always says, that he is the greatest athlete in combat sports history. He was legitimately the UFC World Heavyweight Champion.
Yeah.
Like he was a proper fighter. He was a proper NCAA wrestler in college and high school. He properly made it to the Vikings training squad in the NFL.
Yeah.
It's hard to put it to touch him in terms of what he's
Hard to
actually
argue
done.
with that. Hard to argue with that.
There will never be another one like Brock for a very long time, if ever. All right, so pick number 3 for me. I'm going to go with the Big Red Machine, Kane.
Oh, he's putting the Brothers of Destruction
He
together.
has. He's got the Brothers of Destruction.
And I only do that because I know, one, out of the 3 of us, Kane would not get chosen. My other picks that I could put above Kane
Yeah.
will likely get chosen in the following rounds, so I'm going to go with him.
Okay. All right. Interesting strategy. We'll see if it pays off.
Yeah. Bold
All strategy, Cotton. Welcome back to the
So
outro.
we look at Kane's debut. Let's not talk about his previous characters, Unabomb and Isaac.
Isaac
Yes. Mr. Dentist. Absolutely atrocious. But his debut as Kane, there's just nothing like it. You don't get debuts like that anymore.
No.
After a match with, during.
Actually, I'll argue that you might get a debut like that. Uncle Howdy. No.
I'm not even going to touch that.
Oh, mate.
You look at how Kane came in as the character in the Hell in a Cell match with Undertaker, Shawn Michaels. Absolutely GOAT feud against The Undertaker that has stemmed over decades. Was done in the 90s, a little bit in the 2000s, and then again in the 2010s when he finally had a long run with the heavyweight championship. Let's not talk about that one night where he won it and then lost to Stone Cold the next night.
I am It's amazing.
I
It was a
definitely
miracle
think-
his voice, the recovery it made, I tell you.
Yeah. And you look at the way that he's been able to develop his character as well. Like changing the mask, taking it off, the whole psychotic character
Taking
that
lead
came in after. Yeah.
Snitsky, all that whole feud. Yeah.
And then like you look at corporate Kane as well, and how he was able to morph his character again, and then playing the mind games.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not the demon Kane. I'm corporate Kane. Like,
And look, it definitely took something to be able to have so much character and emotion when your face was completely covered.
Yeah.
When he was the original Big Red Machine Kane. Like, he was able to still communicate and with the crowd and have that emotion without even showing his face. And that says a lot about the character, like, to be able to do that. And I know there's a lot of wrestlers to this day, any of them that wrestle with a mask, 99% of them say that they look back on Kane as their influences. How do you wrestle?
How do you do
the
it?
mask?
Yep.
So, no, I think that's a good choice.
All right, Ted.
I just get the one, right?
You're on the one.
You're getting one again.
You're in the middle spot.
Jeez, this is tough. This is tough. No, for me, easy choice is the American Dragon. Brian
Sorry.
Danielson.
Oh, Daniel Bryan.
I thought you were going
You got to say Bryan Danielson now, right? You got to say Bryan Danielson, right? Daniel Bryan. Most people know him as Daniel Bryan. The American Dragon, especially. I mean, I know he had a lot in Ring of
I was
Honor.
going to say, this pains me that this is your pick and you've never watched his ROH catalogue.
I'm going to go back and watch it though, man.
You need to.
I'm going to. But he, again, like his WWE stuff is just absolutely awesome. And you can't go past WrestleMania 30 with the triple threat match.
Yeah, movement.
And Batista.
The Yes Movement's right.
One of the greatest moments of all time, the Yes campaign. But for me, I actually loved him more as the heel champion with the sustainable belt.
Oh, that
You can't get any more
eco-friendly
heel.
belt.
You can't.
Fantastic.
You can't get any more heel than a tree hugging hippie vegan. Like, come on, man. That was the fact that made him a heel can only work in America. And he did it so well. But again, one of the smallest guys you've seen in the ring, but he could wrestle anybody and beat them, and you'd go, that's legit. And you would believe it.
Yeah, for sure.
And
you
he
need
just-
to watch him in ROH, man. It's just...
I'm gonna, man. Trust me, you've told me. I'm gonna go look back on it now because I feel like I've been deprived. The fact
Yeah.
I haven't seen his Ring of Honor stuff because everything I've seen of him, even in AEW as well, when he jumped ship over there, has been amazing.
Yeah.
Even though the storylines themselves are not fantastic, his wrestling ability, like that match that he had with Hangman when he first got there for the title and it ended up in a draw, mate, blew me away. But yeah, I just can't go past him, man. There's so much emotion behind it. And if you haven't seen the video, go watch the video about Connor's cure when they started that, mate. And that will, you'll love him forever. No matter what you think of him now, once you watch that video, you will not say a bad word about Daniel Bryan.
Bryan Danielson.
But
Deep.
The American Dragon.
All right, two picks for me to round out the draft from my side of things. I have multiple people, and I feel like there are going to be a whole lot of people that we aren't picking in this draft, and a lot of people who are watching this are going to be very mad at us for not choosing them. Yeah. We can discuss that towards the end, those that just don't get picked. But these are our personal favourites, our best wrestlers. So, for pick 9, I'm going to pick John Cena.
okay.
Controversial
Didn't
for
see
a lot
that
of people.
coming, did we?
This is where you can't see.
John Cena.
John China. Maybe not the greatest tactical wrestler that we've seen. Maybe not the greatest character wrestler that we've ever seen. Once he hit his John Cena Superman status and stayed like that for 12 years and just never lost. I can see why that grinded on a lot of people, myself included.
Oh, yeah.
But for what John Cena has done for the wrestling business and what he has done in WWE, he has to be up there as one of the greatest of all time.
Yeah.
You look at how he came in as, the Thugonomics John, and his whole gimmick was because he started rapping onto a bus when Stephanie McMahon heard him, and then he just told him to do it on TV, and then he just went from there. His promo capability is probably untouched by a lot of people. At the moment, people do go back and say that he used to bury people on the mic and stuff a lot to put himself over. But I think that if you watch it back in hindsight, you really start to appreciate how good he actually was.
I think it was more giving them an opportunity to step up
And a lot of people couldn't match with him.
more than anything else, yeah.
Yeah. And you look at those big promos that he had with, The Miz, and obviously he feuded with literally everybody in the WWE. But the key one that most people go back to is The Rock.
Yeah.
The back-to-back WrestleMania stuff.
The once in a lifetime,
Once in a lifetime that happened.
Planned for a
times.
third, but they didn't go through with it.
Yeah. So that period of time, a lot of people were like, you love him or you hate him, right? And obviously we were a bit more old, so we were more on the hating side than a lot of kids at that age would have loved John Cena. Fruity Pebbles, that sort of stuff, all of his different shirts. He sold so much merch for literally everything. And then you throw in stuff he did with Make-A-Wish. It's hard to really touch him.
hating Kenya.
You can't. I mean, let's not even bring in Fast 9, Fast 10, Peacemaker TV series, the original Marine. Come on, John Cena, please. My last pick,
Yeah.
I think I might have telegraphed by wearing this t-shirt.
Oh.
And I think Reese wanted his fist to fold with.
Oh, man. Here we go.
He's not in my top 10.
Oh, I was going to say, I have a feeling that I get a little bit of, from this side of the table, he's not well liked, so...
Well, he's probably not. That's not fair. So it's CM Punk, the best in the world.
Got old pretty quick. That's all I'm going to say for me. That's just my...
I think some of his more recent stuff is probably not great. I think he's definitely rubbing a few people the wrong way with his AEW run, with the stuff with the Elite.
Yeah.
But if you go back to, like, Bryan Danielson, you go back into ROH and you watch his original matches with guys like Tyler Black, Samoa Joe, Kevin Owens and stuff, brilliant. Like, some of his stuff with Samoa Joe 15, 20 years ago, some of the best wrestling you'll ever watch. His first take into WWE, he was a bit slow. Then he had some really good feuds with, like, Jeff Hardy. Started to get on top, win the Money in the Bank. Stuff in Randy Orton was really good. The Pipe Bomb, which I think probably changed wrestling promos for everybody. And you can't go past that crowd for, was it Money in the Bank in Chicago?
Yeah.
Him and John Cena, like, that was a phenomenal moment in wrestling history.
He got a lot of eyes on the product again. Like, people that had been away for a while. Like, I remember going back and going, I need to watch that.
But also, when AEW signed him, that got people back to AEW just because of the name CM Punk.
Yeah.
Why do they have a show called Collision on Saturdays?
Cannot argue the fact that he puts eyes on the product.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They created an entire TV show just for CM Punk because he didn't want to work with everyone else. So let's put a show on Saturday just for him. He is controversial. I get it. I can see why he's not in everyone's top 10, but it's hard to go past him as being one of the best wrestlers in the world.
Maybe we finally figured out what CM stands for. Controversial man.
Controversial man.
Chicago
Chick Magnet.
No, it's never been confirmed.
It's Chick
Never been
Magnet.
confirmed.
No, it was confirmed as Chick Magnet.
No.
I'm pretty sure he came out and said it was.
That sounds fucking cringe.
Wow. What things
Okay.
in pro wrestling is not cringe. Let's be fair.
Very true.
Good point.
Let's remember Katie Vick, Mr. Kane lover.
Hey, that was Triple H.
Hey,
That did
I want to hear a bad word against Papa H.
Yeah, he's my pick.
Do not go back and watch Katie Vick.
Don't
Do not do it.
Also,
Just
don't
tell
watch-
me now.
Don't watch any of the
It's
stuff with Kane and Lita. You don't want to know about that.
No, don't do it.
It's all horrible.
Don't do it.
wasn't my fault.
My final pick.
Final pick.
I'm gonna do a really, really obvious one that I'm sure a lot of people are gonna roll their eyes at. And you smell what I'm cooking.
Okay, good.
It's The Rock.
This is one of the ones I opted
It's
to
The Rock.
because I was sure I was going to get picked.
It's The Rock. I've got to go with him. Like, the promos he cut back in the day were just amazing. He was the people's champ. And that was the thing with The Rock. You loved him when he was a heel. You loved him when he was a face. It didn't matter which one he was.
Yeah.
They still loved him.
Yeah, of course.
Absolutely loved him. And the catchphrases people still quote to this day.
Brony.
This very simple movement of lifting your eyebrow, right? That is credited to The Rock. It doesn't matter what you're in, like, people do that and The Rock. Yeah. And now that he's become this massive global superstar, everybody knows who he is. And it's so funny that they can still play back some of his stuff from the Attitude Era and he cannot be cancelled. He's the uncancelable man.
Well, one of his greatest promos I remember was him sitting in the ring playing guitar for Vicky Guerrero.
Vicky Guerrero.
Oh,
yes.
too good.
Brilliant. But the silk shirts, like that era for me, the silk shirts with the corporation, the corporate elbow, like that for me was when he really hit his peak. Talking in the third person, and come on, man.
Not Rock versus Hogan, WrestleMania.
Oh, look, don't get me wrong, man. That's the biggest crowd pop ever. I don't think you're ever going to get a better crowd than Rock versus Hogan.
Yeah.
And that was the only thing that made me interested in it. To be honest with you, I wasn't that interested because I wasn't a massive Hogan fan. Didn't really have a big thing about it.
That was like constant through the whole match, just noise.
Yes. Nuts.
Such
But,
a-
I mean, for me, man, it's got to be Rock v. Austin. Like, that was just... And they did it in such a way, and I loved the fact, and I think people don't credit it enough, the fact that this is how much respect Austin had for Rock, that he chose Rock as his final match, didn't even say anything. He kept it to himself. Only The Rock knew. He was the only person who knew what Austin was going to do, and Austin went out on his back, gave it to The Rock. Mate, like, and everyone always refers to X7, right?
It's the greatest
Number
wrestling
2
promo
out of
of
the
all-
3.
That's the greatest WrestleMania.
Greatest wrestling promo of all time. Those
Mate,
two
you
took
had-
away from the biscuit.
You had two guys, one-on-one, fair enough. It became a no DQ right before the start, but they didn't even have to do that. Everybody wanted to see one-on-one, The Rock versus Austin for the belt. Everybody cared.
Yeah.
Everybody cared. You wanted to see it. It was simple. Yeah, The Rock. The Rock, for me, rounds it out.
All right, Reese, last pick.
Last pick.
No pressure.
No
There,
pressure.
there are a lot of names still out there.
It's an easy one for me
Who is it?
because it hasn't been touched on yet.
It's Test.
I was going to go with Hurricane,
Low key,
man.
No.
low key, I loved Test growing up.
Yeah.
I thought he was fantastic. No,
It's not Test.
last one,
Shane Blackman.
Y2J Chris Jericho.
Okay.
Good choice.
Without a doubt.
Good choice.
League's better than CM Punk.
Well,
Just to throw shade on you.
Argument from
No,
another
like,
battle.
let's look at what Y2J has done for himself over.
You can't call him that. He doesn't like being called
I
that.
don't care. I don't care about the
Okay,
demo
sorry.
god, okay?
The Ayatollah of rock and roll.
Ayatollah of rock and roll. You look at how many times he's been able to continually reinvent himself to success. Like, you look at how he came in against The Rock, Ayatollah of rock and roller, and then he went other shit.
The list.
His last segment of his WWE run with The List.
Yeah.
Stupid idiot. Like, just like idiotic things, but it just like the crowd popped for it. They chanted with it. Almost similar to how LA Knight's got his yeah thing going on.
Yeah.
Everyone's just like, you just made the list, you stupid idiot. Just like, and then how he reinvented himself again in AEW. Not a fan of the whole demo god thing. Like,
I don't like the fact that
no
he
need to
also
bring that
sparked
into
high heels.
yeah, it's
He's
some of
got
the
too
stuff
much.
that he's been doing in AEW is a bit,
Well, look, and
but
this
it's
is
still successful.
This is a conversation that Dan and I actually already had, and I fully agree with the conversation. I love Jericho. I went on his cruise, for crying out loud, and met the man. Turns out he's a lot taller than they make you believe, right? He's actually quite tall. I mean, I'm pretty short, but anyway. No. And if you want to go on the cruise, do it. It's worth
Another
it.
plug.
It's worth it. Another plug. Send me some cash. All right. No, so the only thing with Jericho, and the only thing I worry about right now, is he's becoming a little bit of a parody of himself.
Yeah.
He is starting to get a little bit like Randy the Ram from The
Yeah.
Wrestler. You know, it's
Who he be?
Now
Wrestler,
needs to
Yes.
call his time. He needs to call his time. He needs to move into a sort of management role or
Dude,
stop
he's
with
got so
the
many other things that he's doing. He's got 2 bands. He's in quarantine. He's in Fozzy. He's got the Jericho Cruise. He's got his podcast that he does. Like, there's so many other things that he can still do. And I feel like maybe I've seen some highlights of some of the recent stuff. I feel like they might be going towards his retirement. And I hope they do, because I want it to end on a high. I don't want him to do a Ric Flair.
No.
I don't want. I mean, we don't even need to mention the match that I'm referring to. I'm sure anybody that knows wrestling and knows what I'm talking about. We don't want Jericho to do that.
Yeah.
But I still think it's a fantastic choice. Great wrestler, great storyteller, invents himself over and over again.
All right. So, from the draft, we have Reese's team of pick 1 being Undertaker, Brock Lesnar, Kane, and Chris Jericho. Ted, you drafted Stone Cold, Kurt Angle, Bryan Danielson, and The Rock. And my draft is Shawn Michaels, Triple H, John Cena, CM Punk.
I think we've got a pretty good list there, boys.
Yeah.
I'm pretty happy with that.
Let's talk about quickly before we finish up the undrafted. Possibly the best there was, the best there is, the best there ever will be. Bret Hart.
You know what?
The most titles of everyone, Ric Flair. You got Bruno Sammartino. We've got Santino that we haven't touched. We've got Hogan, obviously. Orton, Batista, AJ Styles.
Look, can I
Eddie
cover
Guerrero.
can I cover off a couple of them really quickly on the list as to why they weren't picked? I think it's pretty obvious. Ric Flair. We look back on it now, man. I mean, look, I know some people think it was a bit harsh about what came out with Dark Side of the Ring and everything, but come on, man. Like, times have moved on, Rick.
Yeah.
You know, and he admitted himself, man, it wasn't a character.
Yep.
He was that
Oh, no,
person.
100%.
And Hogan's just had too much controversy, man. And he says things that people have, proven that are not true. He constantly just makes stuff up. And you can see him now whenever he's on some sort of promo video for WWE. They've had a script in front of him and they go, say this word for word, do not deviate. Because it's things that he never would have said.
It's true.
So I think those two for me, yes, they have a massive history with wrestling. They're a massive part of history. You'll never take that away. But we've got to move on, man. Like, it's come a long way since when they were in their prime. It really has. And again, I think both of them ended up becoming parodies of themselves in the end. So that's the big reason for me, I think, why those two. And also the fact that I only saw them at the end of their careers.
Yeah.
Yeah, right age for them.
So those two are pretty obvious for me why we haven't been.
I mean, ones that we talked about last time when we drafted Mick Foley.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't quite fit him into my 4 this time, to be honest with you. But Mick Foley, I love him, man. I love the character. The biggest thing for me when I picked Mick Foley last time was actually the sheer fact that I saw someone who was the same shape as me in the ring. Made me feel good about myself.
That's why I like Bronson Reed so much. And Otis. It's one of my favourites.
Jeez,
Love
Dan,
Otis.
get a bit rough on yourself, mate. But Bret the Hitman Hart, I mean, yeah, mate, don't get me wrong,
He's
great
never
matches,
done
but yeah,
I've never liked Bret Hart.
I
I feel like everyone puts him on a pedestal, and
Yeah.
I don't get it.
I think in-ring work was fantastic, and his WrestleMania match with Stone Cold was one of the best you'll ever see.
100%.
But it was just not the era that we grew up in.
Yeah.
And also, similar to other wrestlers mentioned, since his career has ended,
Yeah.
man, he doesn't do himself any favours. Every time I see him talk, he's just talking rubbish about everyone.
He should never have come back for that WrestleMania match.
And he still talks
Scott.
shit about HBK and the incident and all that stuff.
And hand was shook, hatchet was buried, move on.
Yeah, just move on, man.
Move on.
All right. Interesting first draft.
Yeah. Get ready for many more to come.
Very interesting draft. I would like to put our picks up on maybe X, Twitter, whatever they're calling it these days.
The artist formerly known as Twitter.
Yeah. And we'll see who you as the watchers.
Let us know what you think about the picks. Did we pick right? Did we pick wrong? Who did we miss? Who would you have put in? Are you a Hogan, Ric Flair lover? You let us know. Thanks for joining us. That's our first ever draft down under the mat here in Madison Square Garage around the pool table of relevancy. We'll see you next time, guys.
Deuces.